short. This is in defense of just about anybody out there who is forced into early retirement because of disability or something. I'm in my 70s, so I'm beyond any possibility of that. However, I just listened to somebody, an internet grifter named Tere Joyce, do something that's really criminal, claiming that there are laws that do not exist. She is accusing a man named David Schroeder, who is on disability. Hold on a second. I forgot I had that on. Mr. Schroeder's on disability. He says of himself, he has all kinds of issues. And, you know, God bless him. He carries on with life in spite of his problems. So she's accusing him of a crime because he sells quilts. And he also occasionally will post a request for money that, like, oh, he owes a bill on this or owes something on that. And she calls all of that grifting at the same time as she then throws out her, oh, you know, you can get me in my Venmo and here's my GoFundMe and here's my, you know, sign up for my paywall paid subscription video service where she puts stolen clips of other people's videos so she can take money. And she accuses me sometimes when I commented that I was saving money for a purpose. She said that was gathering money. Now she's making up a new law that does not exist. Her claim is that it is illegal if you're on disability to earn money by any other means other than your SSI check. First of all, she doesn't know if he's on SSI. He could be on other forms of disability. He could have private insurance disability. He could be retired based on whatever. There's all kinds of ways. He's a middle-aged man. I don't know how old he is, but he's at least in his 50s. I think he's in his 60s. And if you are disabled, truly disabled, it is not illegal to buy and sell. The man sells his quilts, and she's attacking him and trying to say that that's crime. And this is an attack that all disabled people have to face from grifters and criminals and thieves like Tere Joyce and her gang. They make up laws. They come on the internet. They have backup from crooked, corrupt, charlatan organizations like California State Fresno. She's majoring in something called creative nonfiction. Yes. She's going to get a master's degree in how to make money telling lies about real people. That's what California State University system is now promoting. That's why people do need to pay attention to what's going on. Yeah, Angela Pavlov says she's got some balls. I won't say anything about her and various parts of anatomy. I'm trying to keep it family friendly here. Anyway, I that wasn't me talking for disclaimer to YouTube community stuff. I was just reading a comment in chat. No, she's lying. She's claiming he's and the problem is she's got a crew of brain dead chat trolls who will find a corrupt police officer somewhere and try to get them, because the police departments are pretty quick to tell people like her to back off and recognize that if you've got a problem, you can sue somebody in civil court. It's not criminal. It's not police. Police don't go around, you know, carrying on fights on behalf of washed up geriatric pole dancers. Well, she wasn't really a pole dancer, but she tries to be one in a lot of her videos. And I don't mean doing the polka either. But I'm going to go because I said it was going to be short. And yeah, no, that's a falsehood, a lie. It's a serious conspiratorial type of lie to promote the idea that somebody who has any kind of disability is not allowed to buy and sell. Because if you can't work, you're still allowed to try to earn a living. First of all, the rules are very, very clear. If you're not on regular Social Security, but you're on Social Security disability, and SSI varies from state to state, but it's pretty much the same everywhere. They have a list of how much money you are allowed to earn above and beyond your check before they will shut your check off so that you can work your way off it. You can get back. A disability is not supposed to be a permanent condition. People like Tere Joyce have forced it into permanent status because as soon as they find out somebody is receiving a check, they attack every single thing that person might do to seek out a self-sufficient way. You are allowed, if you are working at a job, let's say you're a truck driver, okay, you're making good money. You get into an accident, you can't drive anymore. You have to go on disability. Well, you might turn around and study up on doing something like making YouTube content or whatever. You might, I mean, I see a lot of these guys doing some real interesting work in the wood shops. They get a few power tools in their garage and they start making these beautiful craft videos. And then it takes like 3 to 4 years to move a craft business into the point where you're going to shows and selling stuff. And if you are able to sell items, and if you're so disabled you can't physically do the stuff yourself, you're still allowed to sell other stuff and to write a book about what made you disabled. And actually, a disabled person is the first person who should be allowed to put out a GoFundMe and say, hey, help me out. I'm falling behind on my bills. Tere Joyce is one of the biggest internet thieves and charlatans out there. She's getting away with it so far. But this is the thing. Nobody would be looking twice at what she's doing if she wasn't telling so many vicious, vicious lies that are designed not only to attack the target, like in this case, David Schroeder, but to attack a whole class of people, which is people who, for one reason or another, find themselves on disability, but still have enough capacity to get up and speak and maybe find another way to make a living. She and her friends, she hasn't done it, but her friends in Sewertown ran a campaign against a successful quilt business that I was building. I was up to making $300-400 a month off it when they successfully tore it down. I know they're going to tear it down again. I'm starting again. I'm putting out lives. I rant in my lives, but but I put my craft work in my videos. I'm set to sell a quilt a month in 2026. That's my goal, starting in January. I hope to have this one that I'm working on now finished by the end of January, and I hope to be offering a quilt a month, and I hope to be making $100 a month. That don't sound like much money, but that's where you start. By the end of 2026, I will have built it up more. And I know they're going to attack it. They're going to try to tear it down. But one of the things that's going on is we are all learning how to do business in a world that's full of filth, like Tere Joyce Randolph and her ilk. But why are they doing this to you? That question comes from Shizzle. Shizzle, I don't feel like being on for 5 hours to explain, but I will tell you that it started with 2 people, Winter Moon and a friend of hers, who are closely associated with somebody who was harassing my daughter when my daughter was still alive. So in my case, It is an organized, definitely organized gang attachment to my daughter's death. And it was in trying to figure out, Shizzle, why they were doing this, especially when, in fact, as I said, Thomas Schoenberger was part of this back in the day, back in 2017. I was trying to figure out, what the hell is this guy? Because there was something about him that just was a little off, okay? And it was in looking at every single person that they targeted, I discovered it was Becky Dean, Blazing Scar, who was the one that really clicked when it became obvious that they went after her by trying to set her up with a true crime show based on a cold case in her own family. And she had help from the very people who now attack her. She didn't know they were going to attack her. And it was in looking at that I said, hey, wait a minute. Every single target that I looked at so far, me and a few others, had a death in the family, a homicide or a suspicious suicide or an unsolved death in the family. And in at least 3 cases, at least 3, these people got into the person's life while they were still alive. Actually 4, because they did that to my daughter. Except back in 2010, I was online in eBay. I had an eBay store, and I didn't know I had bumped into some of these people. I had bumped into Monograph and Agent 19, who posts now as Norman Gray. They were running it, and they're still running it. They're running a lot of it, but they stay in the shadows. And I didn't even know I had run across this stuff when my daughter was still alive. But I did have an eBay store. I did run into some issues with people trolling my store. And then I got out of everything for a while. And then I started to come back online, and I started getting threats. And my daughter was still alive. One of Tere Joyce's friends there, Winter Moon, claims to have been a Indiana cop. She was never a cop. She was never anything. But she was working with a man named Brian Birmingham, who had been sending threats while my daughter was still alive. And they hired Winter Moon because she focused herself on campus police and stuff. And it was a campus police department at University of Massachusetts that lied to the Massachusetts State Police in order to prevent a full investigation of my daughter's death, so that my daughter was wrongfully declared a suicide. That's why they come after me, Shizzle. You think I'm going to back down with this much at stake? They're taking everything from me that could be taken from me. And I'm going to see every last one of them pay the price. Because that's when we found out, when I was looking at it, and then I started following around the people around Thomas Schoenberger and who they were involved with. And he's innocent. They've been playing him and exploiting him and throwing him up front because they think if they get enough people to hate Schoenberger, whose major crime in life is having been a little bit of a jerk. You know, thinking you're going to rescue married women from creepy husbands like Pavana and Jesse Davis, while the creepy husband is watching the emails and coaching the wife on what to do next to continue to drag you into it. Yeah. You know, that's Thomas Schoenberger being a jerk right there. But that's not a crime. And what these people do is very criminal. And they hope that everything will be blamed on Schoenberger. But the funny part is, the more they blame him for everything, the more they get other people to really look at what's going on and realize what's really going on. Shizzle, you seem to have developed a little bit of amnesia there. I'm going to chalk it up to maybe you're drinking some eggnog. Listen, Shizzle, if you really truly are trying to refresh your memory before my battery runs dead, look up Tinker Tailor. There's a channel that's still online that has a lot of the stuff about me and why they're coming after me. And it's from a hostile point of view. Tinker Tailor was a hired troll, but Tinker Tailor also got into it with Winter Moon. And if you look up that channel, put in my name, Denise Matteau, and put in and I think if you put in Winter Moon, I think she's in one of the titles. It'll come up. It's a Tinker Tailor troll channel. And those old videos will educate you about the history. I'm going to let you go because I was supposed to be baking pecan pie tonight, but I didn't get around to it. Angela, you're confused. I'm confused. It's time to hit the eggnog. Shizzle, I don't think you're really Shizzle. I think you're playing games. Yeah, that Hassan is behind it, but I'm going to leave it alone. Oh, arroz con leche. Well, I'm going to get some eggnog. Goodbye, all. Where's the off button? There it is.